Hey everyone, Dr. Ashley here, and today I wanted to talk about 5 tips to turn your setback into a comeback. I wanted to talk about mindset after injury. It's so important because many of us fall into a deep, dark hole after an injury. So how can we prevent that? Let's get started. The first tip I give all athletes after an injury is don't ignore your feelings. The reason being, feelings are super important in your recovery. It's important to monitor not only your physical status after an injury, but also your psychological status. The reason being, athletes often go through the 5 stages of grief after an injury. So we're talking about denial, we're talking about anger, we're talking about bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Those are 5 things that almost every athlete will experience when recovering from an injury. When you think about it, oh no, why did this happen to me? Okay, that's your denial phase. Number 2, anger. You're so angry this happened. Why am I the only one? Why is this really hitting me hard? The third one, bargaining. Well, maybe if I work that much harder, I'm going to get back faster. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. Or, well, why can't I just go hang out and play with that ball? Or why can't I go on a run? Those are the things that you think in your head that may put you back a little bit. We then go into depression. Well, it's been so long. Why am I not able to play? Why am I not able to do what I want to do? Am I ever going to get back to playing as much as I want? And then the last one is acceptance. That point where you as a whole say to yourself, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to be positive. I am going to listen to those around me, and I'm going to ask for help if I need it. And that's what you can't forget. Don't ignore your feelings, and make sure if you are struggling here to reach out for help, whether it be to your physical therapist, your doctor, a sports psychologist, anybody in your circle, your coaches, because they will help you get over the hump, especially if you're stuck in one of those stages. So let's move on to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is to set real and realistic goals. Do this with help of your healthcare provider, your doctor, or anyone around you, and think about it for yourself as well. And this might even include finding another hobby outside of your sport. Make sure that the goals that you set for yourself coincide with your injury recovery timeline. And if you don't necessarily know what that is, make sure that you go find someone who does. Reach out to a physical therapist, reach out to a physician, reach out to anybody who's been through the injury. But you need to remember, not every single person's recovery is clear-cut. So give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. Don't tell yourself that after an ACL injury, you're going to be back to playing 6 months later, because that may not necessarily be true. Just because somebody in the NFL did it doesn't mean that you will be. Remember, their job is to recover, and they're in PT all day long. We unfortunately don't always get to do that. So make sure your goals are realistic. Make sure that you are setting them to your standards and to the standards of your thought processes. If you're struggling, say, with your psychological status, your goals may be delayed a little bit, and don't let that get you down, and stay positive. So think about that. Make sure your expectations for yourself align with what has happened to you. And then we'll move to tip number 3. Tip number 3 is to focus on the present. Make sure that you are putting your energy into what is currently going on now in your recovery. Don't look to the past, don't look too far ahead, but make sure that your positive attitude and energy is being filtered into what you need to accomplish right now. The big thing is that if you focus too much on the past, the why me, the pity party, all of that, it's not going to help you move forward. If you focus on your old identity as a player, that may not help you either. We need to focus on who you're going to be and where you are in your recovery journey here and now. If you focus too much on the future, okay, what's going to happen is you're going to just start perseverating and thinking so much about what could be, but it may take a little bit longer to get there. So don't jump forward, don't jump backward, and make sure that you're focused on you now. If that means focusing on your physical health a little bit more, if that means focusing on your psychological health a little bit more, do it. And let's move on to tip number 4. Tip number 4 is probably the most important of them all, and that is accepting help and support from others. Having an amazing care team surrounding you during injury recovery is probably one of the most important things that you can do. Make sure that you do look for help if you need it, whether it be physically or psychologically, and make sure that you are looking to others for help. Don't ignore the facts. If you're not feeling well, if you need to talk to somebody, do it. If you don't know where to go in your recovery, whether it be, a running related injury or say like a tendonitis or tendinopathy that's continuously flaring up, don't forget to reach out for help. There are people out there that will help you get through this in the way that you want to. And if you don't jive with someone, make sure you look for someone new. The big thing is that we're not just gonna not get our hair cut because we had one bad interaction with a hairdresser. We're gonna find another one. So go ahead and make sure that you are doing the best for you during your recovery. And make sure that you are asking people around you for advice. Make sure you're asking them for support. And if they're not doing so, dump them and find some new ones. And let's go on to tip number 5. And last but not least is tip number 5. We all become pessimists when we're injured. So why not make sure that you stay on the optimism train? Make sure that you are really looking at yourself and staying in the present. Don't look to the past. Don't look to the future. Make sure that you are focusing on now. And if you need it, ask for help. We need to have a positive outlook during injury recovery. If not, we fall into a big black hole. We fall into a rut where we go into the self-pity party. If you don't stay positive, what often happens is you do get stuck in one of those stages of grief. You don't necessarily have the best outcome in the end because you have been in this negative feedback loop. Staying optimistic, staying positive, and making sure that although you may have some setbacks, you are looking at those little setbacks as a way to only propel your comeback stronger than ever. You can succeed even if it's been a frustrating process. And make sure, like we talked about, you're setting realistic goals. Well, everybody, if you have enjoyed this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. And as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in the comments section. The big thing about making sure that your mindset stays well after recovery is just taking care of yourself. And that doesn't only include the physical aspect of injury, it includes the mental aspect of injury, an often forgotten part of sport. So I'll be back soon with more information. And as I already said, if you have any comments, don't hesitate to post them in the comments section below.